So happy International Women's Day. But here's one of the most difficult questions you can ask in our culture today. You'll need your thinking caps, dictionaries, encyclopedias, and Roger thesauruses at the ready, because the question is, what is a woman? It is the vexed question. In fact, even the dictionaries are having trouble defining what is a woman. The Cambridge Dictionary originally said it was an adult female human being, but they've updated it and they now say it's also an adult who lives and identifies as female, though they may have been said to have a different sex at birth. Sounds a little bit like the census, doesn't it? Merriam-Webster, their definition of a girl was always a female child from birth to adulthood, but you'll note there that they've added a subclause. Section 1, subclause 2, a person whose gender identity is female. And dictionary.com's word of the year last year was the word woman. What's so complicated about it? Well, part of the reason is because dictionary.com had a massive increase in investigations on what the word woman was in the dictionary between February and March. And that was because there was a nomination for Supreme Court by President Biden, and the nominee to be on the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land in the US, was asked a simple question. What is a woman?
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mhm.
No,
Yeah,
I can't.
you can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the meaning
biologist.
of the word woman is
Okay, so apparently you need to be a biologist to be able to define the word woman, and that's why dictionary.com thought it was so amazing and made it the word of the year. But it's not only in the US that they're having problems. Annalise Dodds, who is the Shadow Minister for Women, so that means on the opposition benches, the Labour Party in the UK, so she's the Shadow Minister for Women, and she was asked, what is a woman? She's not too keen to answer it quickly. Have a listen.
I think with respect, Emma, I think it does depend what the context is, surely. I mean, surely that is important here. You know, there are people who have decided to that they have to make that transition. You know, I've spoken with many of them. It's been a very difficult process for many of those people. And, you know, understandably, because they live as a woman, you know, they want to be defined as a woman.
Yep, so you thought it was a simple definition, but no, it seems quite tricky. And then in the UK, they went off to Yvette Cooper. Now, she is the Shadow, so the opposition party Home Secretary, and she was asked the same question. Once again, obfuscates around the definition. Have a listen.
You know, you've got a book about it. You presumably can say, yeah, I'm very confident what a woman is.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know, I just wonder if we could get into rabbit holes on this. Why are we all kind of getting ourselves tangled up?
Well, I think it's because a lot of people listening would say, well, I know what a woman is. It's really straightforward. And then it feels that politicians start to get themselves into rabbit holes about this.
Yeah, as you can see, I'm avoiding going down a rabbit hole because I just think this is pointless.
Yep, doesn't want to go down the rabbit hole, doesn't want to define it. Ironically, Yvette Cooper, that lady, is also the author of this book, She Speaks, The Power of Women's Voices. I mean, can you use she and woman in the same sentence? A lot of confusion there, but look, let's look at 3 hilarious Australian examples, and I've played some of them to you before, but have a listen to this exchange between a Tasmanian Senator, Claire Chandler, who asked a really tricky question to the representatives from the Office for Women. From the Office for Women. And of course it was, what is the definition of a woman? They struggle to answer it.
As the Office for Women, what definition of woman do you use?
What definition of women do we use? Could you maybe give us a bit more context
Of course.
to the question?
You oversee and promote a range of initiatives, funding programs, specifically designated for women. How do you define what a woman is to determine eligibility for the purposes of providing advice on women's policy to government and ministers?
Where's my papers?
So, in terms
Okay,
of,
we'll leave that. That was excruciating. Then it was the turn of the Workplace Gender Equality Agency in Australia. So they want equality between the sexes. But what happens when they're asked by a senator from the government, Alex Antic, what is a woman?
Website, it talks about gender equality and intersecting forms of diversity, gender identity and so forth. And the agency therefore clearly acknowledges diverse gender identities. Are you able to provide me with a definition of what a woman is?
So we use the definition that is generally used across all aspects of government that the ABS uses, and as I say, other forms of government. We let the companies. We don't define it ourselves in the Act, and we don't define it in relation to companies filling out the forms. We let the generally acceptable definition that companies choose to use be the basis of how they report to us.
And what's
Oh, okay, so it's not based on what the dictionary says. It's based on what the government determines it to be. But then finally up in this sorry but very amusing saga was the same politician being asked, asking the same question to the Australian Secretary for the Department of Health. The question, of course, is, what is a woman? Watch the response.
That is one which has troubled me for a great deal of time with the bureaucracy here. Can someone please provide me with a definition of what a woman is? Department of Health. Definition of a man, definition of a woman. Anyone?
Hello?
It's pretty basic.
Basic stuff. Professor Murphy.
I think there are a variety of definitions, and I think
Just a simple one.
Perhaps to give a more fulsome answer, we should take that on notice.
You're going to take on notice the question of what a woman is.
No, well, there are a variety. It's a very
Yep, apparently the Department of Health has to take it on notice to find out what is a woman. Look, as I said at the start, if you define a woman biologically, an adult human female, you immediately destroy gender ideology. And because gender theory is not rooted in reality, but in ideology, it trips up at the most basic question. What is a woman? So, I mean, next time you're speaking to someone, ask them to define woman. You'll quickly be able to tell whether they work for the government and the media. And look, just before I go on this one, I saw this from our friends at Women's Forum run by Rachel Wong, a Kiwi who spoke at our forum last year. It's the Women's Pledge, and it's the pledge to ensure women's safety, to ensure women's sport, freedom of speech, to be able to speak up against gender ideology, and data collection to tell the truth. It's a very good pledge, and good on Women's Forum in Australia for putting that up. Look, we can't celebrate International Women's Day correctly if we can't define woman correctly. I think Helen Reddy, remember Helen Reddy from 1971? She gets it.